Hey everybody, welcome, welcome, welcome. You are officially at the Survivor Speaks a Photo Journal, and we are so excited that you all are here to join us. We're going to be getting started in a few minutes, so enjoy the music while we get this thing going. Welcome, 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 everybody. We are so excited to have you all here to join us for Survivor Speaks, a photo journal. This is a web simulated art gallery and social media campaign, and you are here to join us to take a look at some wonderful art that has been in the work for about 2 years in the making. And so, with no further ado, we are going to start with our artist statement from our artist, Sadi. Right. So while we're queuing up that video, I think what I would love to do is talk a little bit about some of the artists that we've worked with for this project and other things that we have going on for the rest of the time that we have together. We're going to start off with the artist statement that we talked about a minute ago. We have some survivor poets who are going to be doing some what's called ekphrastic poetry. Ekphrastic poetry is when an artist takes a look or a writer takes a look at an artist's work, and from that art, they are inspired by it and are compelled to write and reflect on that writing. And so I think what I'll do while we're ironing out our technical difficulties is share some of the ekphrastic poetry I wrote for Sadi's exhibit. After that, we're going to have a 10 to 15 minute discussion talking about survivor experiences that's pre recorded. And so some of the survivors that you are going to see in the gallery are going to be up. And we're going to have a discussion about that. We're going to go into some more ekphrastic poetry, and then we're going to take a tour of the virtual gallery, which I'm really, really, really excited about. And so as we iron out all of these kinks, y'all just stay tuned, take a listen to some music while we figure it out, and we will be back momentarily. All right? See you in a few.
That's right. And now it is
Talking to the shadows, haven't slept awake. I walk the floor and watch the dawn, and in between I drink black coffee. Love's a hand-me-down in this weekday room. When all I do is pour black coffee.
Until Alliance for Safety and Justice brought me in to begin this project, I didn't know enough about the goodness of life to consider myself a survivor. My orientation had always been hood, New Orleans hood, Texas hood, and eventually hoods all over the world where crime and its effects are often facts of life. Having horrible things done to me and my loved ones and needing to keep moving through grief, pain, and fear were such frequent and long-standing experiences they just seemed normal. It took my being introduced to the work of crime survivors for safety and justice to realize this is not normal and it is not okay. For 3 years, I traveled this crazy country, being invited into the communities, the homes, and lives of crime survivors from all walks of life. With photography, video, and my heart, I held space for the pain, witnessed the resilience, and documented what I think are some really powerful stories. Stories that not only expose the level of injustice we face, but also illuminate the power we have to correct it. It is an enormous honor to stand with these survivors, these healers and warriors, as we continue the fight to dismantle the old way and work to bring about a new system that centers us and meets our needs. I pray these stories access your heart and stoke a fire in you to join the fight. I know that together we can move beyond surviving and thrive.
Thank you so much for that beautiful, beautiful artist statement. Next up, what we have, if we have our first ekphrastic poem from Cleveland, Ohio, Miss Pam Hubbard.
Hi, I'm Pam Hubbard from Cleveland, Ohio. My poems are untitled. Number 1, thoughtfully and tenderly, I remember your spirit. You are never forgotten. Number 2, a person is not dead until there's no one left to call their name. That's an African proverb. I'll call your name every day. Number 3, we come together with broken hearts. CSSJ has given us a deeper start. Meeting new people with similar circumstances helps us not to throw in the towel and take new chances. Ashe, thank you.
Thank you so much for that wonderful, wonderful poem, Miss Pam. Next up, we're going to go right into our conversation with Sadi and Helena, who's going to talk about the use of art and culture as a tool in social movements and helping to change narratives. So we're going to go right over to that next. Stay tuned.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to this year's Survivor Speaks. My name is Shakira Diaz. I am the Chief of Staff for the Alliance for Safety and Justice. And I am very excited to introduce this amazing conversation that you're going to have the opportunity to witness. I'm going to start off with giving you some information about both Sadi Kali as well as Helena Huang from the Art for Justice Fund. First, I'm going to give a little background about Sadi. So we started this partnership with Sadi a few years ago to really give a different type of voice to the experiences of people in our community who have survived and have grown and continue to survive growth and challenges beyond their initial experience with violence. And to be able to witness people seeing the photographs that Sadi took of them, giving them a different sense of worth and value, and giving them the opportunity to see the beauty in themselves was such a beautiful experience for myself. I grew a lot from it personally, and I appreciate Sadi's approach to the work. Next, I want to introduce Helena Huang, who is a project director for the Art for Justice Fund, which is a 5-year transformative fund that was established by Agnes Gunn, who's from here, my hometown in Cleveland. When I say here, everybody knows what that means. It means Cleveland. Here is always Cleveland. And the fund is dedicated to ending mass incarceration in the United States through criminal justice grants in support of high impact campaigns that center justice as well as the arts. So it's like giving a new voice, right, to the many changes that we need to see, the many changes that we have been working on collectively for many, many years. Helena is actually one of my favorite people. So thank you for taking the time and for being part of this ongoing conversation, being part of the work, being part of the transformation. With that, I want to kick it over to Helena, who is going to facilitate this amazing conversation with Sadi. And I hope that all of you have an opportunity to enjoy this, embrace it, and grow from it.
Shakira, thank you so much. It is such a pleasure to be here today with everybody. My name is Helena Huang, and I am with Art for Justice. And it's been such a pleasure already to get to know Sadi. We are going to talk about his art practice. We're going to talk about how it is that he is engaged with Survivor Speak, and how it is that he's been moved and changed by the people he has interviewed and photographed through this project, how it's affected him personally, and how he sees his work as part of kind of the larger movement to end mass incarceration. Just to say a little bit more where Shakira left off about Art for Justice, we are indeed a 5-year catalytic fund that really seeks to work at the intersection of justice and advocacy, public policy campaigns that largely focus at state-based change. And we are active in states that have some of the highest rates of incarceration. Likewise, we are working with artists who, whether broadly defined, painters, poets, musicians, who many come to this work also deeply impacted by the drivers of mass incarceration. And coming together, working, we have found that there is just this dynamic and exciting alchemy that has really created a kind of energy that we feel like the criminal justice movement has been missing. We all know that artists bring a particular creativity and vision, and they can often see things and help others to see things that are not directly in front of us. And it feels as if in this moment where we have some unique political and cultural openings, in the midst of so much suffering, in the midst of this pandemic, it does feel as if our country is more open to new, bold, transformative possibilities. And it feels all the more urgent that the activities and the collaborations and partnerships of artists and activists and all the people who define themselves as both have a place where they can imagine a world that doesn't center punitive public policy and doesn't center prisons and jails as a solution to every ill and every concern in this country. And so that really is the vision and the mission of Art for Justice. And we have been moving pretty quickly over this dramatic number of years to tell stories and to shine a light on injustice, as well as to disrupt and to promote systemic change and systemic reform, as well as increasingly giving space and support for artists and advocates to imagine a world where prisons and jails eventually do not exist. So with that, I just want to turn back to Kali, and I have been moved by his work and moved by his telling of his artistic practice. And I wanted to just begin by asking, how is it that you first engaged with Alliance for Safety and Justice and Survivor Speaks? And what was it that motivated you to spend the last 3 years doing this work?
I was connected through a friend of mine named Seema Sadanandan, who at the time was working with the organization. And she reached out to me as I was coming to a level of burnout in a 10-year tour of a project that I was doing called Decolonizing Beauty. And she saw the connections in that work and saw that it could be, some of the tools of that work could be used in the work that she was doing with ASJ. And so she brought me over and we came up with this project. I discovered that I was a survivor through this work. We are survivors for a reason, that there are things that happen in our communities that create, the conditions. And maybe we could do some work to center the people who have been healing and doing the work of healing.
Sadi, one of the things that you and I spoke to right away was kind of a bit of a tension right now within our movement. And on the one hand, you speak to kind of the need to really slow down and listen to people, particularly people who have been harmed by crime and violence and have so much to share. How do you take the time and create the space for the safety and healing so that you can begin to share and connect? And on the one hand, the project really required that of your practice. And on the other hand, we had the reality of, there are deadlines. This is an advocacy organization. We do believe we have a unique political moment that won't last very long because it's connected to elections and other kinds of short, political cycles. How was it that you were able to kind of just manage that very live tension to be able to do the work in a way that felt like it reflected you, your integrity? Can you speak to that tension?
It was definitely a balancing act. I would, travel into the spaces, into the homes, the communities of the survivors I was working with, and we would just kind of be still for a second. We would be friends for a second. And then through building rapport, people open up. And so I felt really honored to be in a supporting role, what I see as a supporting role, to uplift their voices and, basically hand them the microphone and let them tell the world what they need.
Mm. So important and so urgently needed to be able to listen and to hear the wisdom of people who have been directly impacted and survived crime and violence. And I'm wondering if there are some things that you heard that you would like to share and that perhaps, other artists, other activists, other philanthropists need to hear.
More than anything, I would say just listening to each other and talking with each other. Oftentimes we come in the room with our story, with our experience. Right. And oftentimes, unless we listen and exchange with them, we speak to them in difference instead of speaking to them in our commonalities. That common bond of making things better. To me, it felt like when you're at a family reunion and you meet a cousin for the first time or something like that, You
talk a lot about kind of the work of healing, and it's clearly work that was so central to this project and also part of your own practice. Mm-hmm. I wonder if you could share a little bit about how this project has informed kind of your own healing process and vice versa. And it does feel as if, again, we're in a moment where people, the public, are just more aware of all the ways in which our history and the legacy of this country have traumatized so many.
It became very clear to me that I was attempting to heal out before healing in, that I was doing a lot of energy, to love outwardly and not so much loving inwardly. So building, communal practices of healing and going to the Survivor Speaks conferences and seeing people dance and dancing with folks and, hearing people's stories and eating together and, just having a space to not be survivors only, but to be human. I look forward to more organizations creating practices that are healing for the people who are doing the work.
It sounds like, again, that tension that we are wrestling with, both the kind of needing, the work is so important that we need to move slowly. The work is so urgent, we need to move quickly. So that tension. And then, as we know, so many of us have been trained to be outwardly looking, right? And to be looking to kind of problem solve externally. Whereas what you're learning and suggesting is that we have to start with ourselves. Do you feel as if your work as an artist has changed and evolved now that you identify as a survivor of crime? are there other things, other ways in which that identity has changed your work, changed your life?
Yeah, I think the one of the major things that stand out is how not alone I am. That most of us, in some way, shape, or form, are survivors of crime. You know, in the media, usually a very limited version of what crime survivors look like, and that the truth is that what crime survivors are much more diverse. Seeing people who are harmed reach back. There was in a Prince song, I think, If I Was Your Girlfriend, there's a song that says, would you run to me if somebody hurt you, even if that somebody was me? Right. And to actually see that happen and see the survivor and the perpetrator, who is also a survivor, heal together, is just really, really powerful, you know. And it was, you know, it's definitely love-based. And historically, the way, you know, the response of the you know, the justice system to survivors and to perpetrators has not been love-based at all. And so it often re-traumatizes everybody involved. And so to see this love-based work happening definitely gave me hope that these people doing this work would push love forward, and practices would be created that were based in love, because really that's what we all need.
Love is what we all need. Now I think about how powerful Alliance for Safety and Justice in their ability to transcend kind of the traditional legal model, which is separated and put people into these artificial categories, you know, those who are charged with crimes, those who are victims of crime, without, and in both cases, not recognizing people's common humanity, and dividing people and dividing us in this way, leaving us without all the necessary tools to be able to reimagine different responses to poverty and violence and crime, and different tools and pathways to create communities that are thriving. I'm wondering, what do you hope your audiences will take away when they see your work? What audiences do you hope this project gets to speak to? Maybe there are several, and what do you hope they take away?
I hope this work helps them feel seen and heard, helps them, you know, project their voice out into the world further than they may have been doing it already. And the people who may not yet be doing the work, my hope is that this work reaches them, and the survivors, you know, become an example for them, and that maybe they are attracted enough to put in on the work a little bit, you know, to add to it. Nothing changes if we sit around and wait for other people to change it. You know, it's up to us to get together and, you know, use our collective power to make change occur.
Sadi, I want to thank you. You have, both in your work and in your practice, just given me so much kind of hope and inspiration. And I'm sure everybody who will be touched by this work, who have a chance to hear you, will feel similarly. I wonder if you have any final remarks or any questions that you might have before we end.
Really, I just have thanks. I'm really, really grateful to be involved in the project. I'm grateful to CSSJ for allowing me to collaborate with them on it. I'm grateful to you for the work that Art for Justice does, and really pleased that I've gotten the opportunity to connect with you on this. And I just look forward to doing more work.
Supporting the kind of intersection of artists and activists feels very complete to me. And I really do believe like the power of creating this kind of this language together is going to take us to some place that we haven't been before, someplace that is brighter and bigger and more inclusive and about love and about healing. So back at you. I'm so appreciated the time that we've gotten to spend together, and I look forward to spending more time with you as the work continues, as the evolution continues. And just thank you very much. Thank you, Alliance for Safety and Justice, for this incredible opportunity and this wonderful conference.
What a wonderful conversation. And we're about to go right into another one. We're going to have a great conversation with Sadi and some of the folks he took pictures of, just to talk about their process and taking a look back at those pictures. So that's up next. You all enjoy.
I really just wanted to talk to y'all about what it was like, or what the experience was like, you know, having me come into your space and photograph and film you.
It does feel like a while ago when we did the photos and like the interview, and obviously that was pre-pandemic. So just looking back at that time, it's kind of like, it's great to have those moments that you could reflect and talk about your journey, where you're at. And I remember just being able to open and be able to so comfortable with you, be able to share. It did trigger a couple things inside, right? Because obviously it's like when you're digging into trauma, it's kind of hard, especially if it's trauma you haven't processed yet. And after we spoke, because there was some things that did come up where I didn't process, I took the opportunity to process it like after that, just because I consider myself as a provider, right? Helping people, and never think about my own traumas and my own childhood traumas and everything, and my adult traumas, right? Because as a person of color, we tend to go through things every single day and just try to like move past it and not really like reflect on it. So it really gave me opportunity to reflect more.
So much has changed and evolved since that opportunity that I had to be photographed. And I just remember being a little bit like nervous, because that was like the beginning of my leadership, like just different things in this work. And so I've always been a very open individual, but there's a way of being open but not 100% vulnerable, if that makes sense. And so those photos captured the true essence of my heart. Like that picture of me praying, I mean, I'm a prayer warrior. Like that's what I do. Like that's my life. That picture is like, and it's always reshared. Like folks always use that picture a lot, the one of me praying. And the crazy thing about that photo is it was a natural thing. It wasn't like you were like, hey, do this. It was like I was getting overwhelmed, if I recall, right? And I kind of just went into that mode of like what I do to ground myself, and took a moment and you just captured it. But it truly captured the essence of who I am. I'm always in the midst of everything. Like that's just the foundation. And on this journey as a survivor leader, I feel like we forget oftentimes that we have to stay grounded, because the folks that we serve and we organize and gather are only going to be as well and as grounded as we are. And so that was one part of the shoot. And then it was a part of my story that I just hadn't shared. And it was crazy because it was like, I remember you being like, I feel like there's more. And I was like, nah. And I ain't gonna lie. No. You know what I mean? Like there was more, you know what I mean? I'm still unlayering different layers. As I heal one thing, you reveal another.
Yeah, sweet. How about you, Shari?
You took a picture of me leaning on my arm, looking out of my front window. Remember that photo? Mm-hmm. And I think I told you that my husband then would not allow me to look out of the window. So I wanted to add some words to that picture because I hadn't captured anything. So when you left, after 2 weeks after you left, in my bedroom, I have 2 windows, one on the side of the bed and one at the head of the bed. And every single day, now mind you guys, I had left my ex-husband in 1991. So now this is 2018 and you're doing this photo shoot. So I get up every morning, and that window on the side, I literally was peeking out of the window. I pulled the shade back and I was peeking out of the window. And so this one particular morning I peeked out and I heard the Holy Spirit say, open the shade. He says, open it wide. He said, you're free. And I just began to just weep, looking out of the window. And what he was telling me is that I still had residue of my domestic violence that I had not dealt with, that I didn't even know was there. And because of that photo shoot that you did, it was just another layer of the trauma that I had endured, that I had also suppressed and didn't realize was trauma, that residue. And so I was set free from that. So now I'm free to look out of the windows. I'm free to do whatever I need to do without thinking that my ex-husband is going to be outside that window. And I was floored. Mm-hmm. So seeing the pictures did bring back a lot of memories. And I could say a lot of good memories, because now I have such a level of healing that journey goes on. And so whatever comes up next, I'm really ready to deal with it. Because I want to be able to be free, to be able to continue to, also help other people to be free from the trauma that they have endured as well. But how can I help other people if I'm not able to help myself?
This brings to mind, there was where you guys were when we did the sessions, and then there's where you are now. And I'm kind of curious to hear about, where you've gotten to since the time that we were together.
This story that lives within me has literally changed laws, has literally breathed life into other survivors and victims and folks in my community who felt voiceless or were scared to share their story. Like, the confidence in knowing that God has me right where I'm supposed to be is the difference between those pictures and now. And I just feel today more nurtured. And that doesn't have anything to do with people around me. It has to do with the way that I nurture and love myself. And what you did was capture the transition between that little girl, like literally, because there was a part of the story that, that had to do with me when I was a little girl. So you captured the beginning of the evolution of that little girl, that little warrior girl, that little broken girl who was going to be the one to carry so many others through their survivor experience in a way that is transformational. Photos are powerful. Like, they are, even in our healing space that I opened in Stockton, like, we had healing through photography, but that came from that experience. It came from sitting through that experience with you and understanding that there is a healing element and power through photos. So, yeah.
So I too started doing a deep reflection on who I was, where I came from, why do I do these things, what makes me tick. So on top of that photo, when you came and did the photos, that was just like the icing on the cake. And so even with that, a layer with me now dealing with my own trauma and walking with the women, now I'm also walking with men who have chosen to use violence and abusive behaviors. And I was terrified. And it's particularly men of color, because the first thing that people want to say is, what's wrong with you? That all Black men are just violent They can't change, but my perspective. Holy Spirit gave me a genuine heart for men who use violence and abusive behaviors. And so I had to stop asking the same question that everybody else was asking, what's wrong with you? And I had to start asking, what happened to you? What happened to you? Because nobody ever asked me what happened to me. It was just, what's wrong with you? You know, why are you always by yourself? Why are you always crying? Why are you always this? And nobody ever asked me, what happened to you? And when I started my own journey of healing, so now I'm finding out what happened to me, why it happened to me. And those layers begin to just start to be just shown. And so layer after layer, I begin to get my healing. And so now I'm able to walk with men and begin to help them to be transformed by the renewing of their minds. My program interrupts their lives so they can stop being violent and abusive, and also to bring a healing element into the sessions to be able to help them to also understand that they are hurt and broken just like I was. And so I'm at a good place now, where every day is something else. When I'm in, we're, of course, doing everything virtually, which is different. But with the ladies, I do go to the park and have our 2-hour session. And so I'm just continuing to first take care of myself. So that way I'm able to pour out. When that cup is running over, my cup, that teacup that we had, Sadi, when that cup is running over and I can live in the overflow, then I have everything that I need to be able to bring the train of men and women with me to help them to understand that they also need to be healed as well. And that's probably where I'm going to be until I die, I hope. Steady, looking at my own hurts and deep wounds, being able to articulate that and to be able to sit in the presence of the Holy Spirit and get the healing that I need to be able to continue to do that with other people. Because I remember he told me that I was going to be the mouthpiece. You're going to be the mouthpiece for people who are lost and broken. And so I want to be able to do that, but I have to do it for myself first before I can help other people.
I just wanted to hear what you guys think the impact on policy is when survivors get the opportunity to really be seen and really be heard.
At the end of the day, you do know that as survivors, there's two main things that we want. We want to be seen and we want to be heard. And so one of the reasons why I'm passionate about photos, when you come into the space, there's pictures everywhere of like candid photos of folks doing the work that they didn't even know, pictures that weren't planned. You know what I mean? Is because it captures a moment in time. Like it's a perfect storyteller of like how to capture a moment in time and the essence of what is taking place. And it's a picture, and I look so afraid, but I remember what was happening. Like I went in that room and I told my story for the first time ever in a setting like that, and it moved it through. And so it's just it's another way to tell the story and to also be seen, literally.
For my experience, and then just working with other survivors of trauma, where sometimes don't want to share or like embarrassed of something like that wasn't our fault, right? We tend to blame ourselves for the traumas that other inflicted on us, and it becomes something like a secret. But when you start opening up that door and you start giving voices and making these voices valid and collective voices come together, I know here in Orlando and just in Florida, the impact that we're able to make and the policies that we're able to change because of those voices being heard, unless we're collectively elevating these voices and calling out the BS that's out there and these outdated laws that are not really helping no one in the long term, and they're not hearing that collectively, no changes are going to be made. So it's just power and it's empowerment, and I just see the impact in the last few years and just long term, and just seeing all the stuff I want to like change, like, oh, that's bad, oh, why can't we change that? Like, it makes no sense to me, but it's like you have to kind of collectively organize, right? So you're organizing survivors, and I used to never consider myself as a survivor, never. And now I wear that proudly, because it's like, yes, I am a survivor, and I'm a thriver through that, and that's what I want people to be. And my hopes and dreams and aspirations is that people don't have to go through that, and if they do, that there is leaders like us, like on this call, that have been able to help others and continue to fight, because it just doesn't end right with one policy. It continues on to build off of that.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All of you, thank you. This was beautiful. I really appreciate you guys taking the time out to, share your experience, share your wisdom, share your power with me, with us. And I look forward to when we can all be in the same space again as Survivor Speaks, walk into that Capitol, chanting together.
Thank you so much for that very, very amazing, powerful conversation. We have another ekphrastic poem for you all, so we're going to take it to West Coast, and we're going to hear from Kuhn, the poet.
Chris Kuhn, best known as Kuhn the Poet, Sacramento, California. Faded shutters. Faded into the foreground of illustrations of pain painted on paintings, facial expressions expressing it all, no traditional language needed. Faded into a faded portrait of a faded block, jaded by shots. What's a humanitarian to a hurt human? What's a survivor to a victim? What's the difference between a shudder and a shiver? What's the distance between the camera's shutter and the picture? Faded shutters. Faded shutters.
Thank you so much for that poem. So up next, we are going to go right into our virtual gallery preview. So take a look, and I think you're really, really going to enjoy it. Brittany has done so much hard work on this, and so we have to shout out Brittany Dow for being the curator of this amazing, amazing exhibit. Take a look. How amazing was that? We've had such a powerful hour together, and we're winding this on down. And so we have one more ekphrastic poem for you all. It might be somebody you recognize, so let's take a look. I am Eris Edie from Cleveland, Ohio, digital organizer manager for the Alliance for Safety and Justice. And this is called Catch. Capture me tenderly, reflecting on where I've been, the sorrow I've carried, the burdens laid, the waymaker paved the path towards peace. I found myself settled into where you survive through, and for everyone but self, a choice must be made, a line in the sand, greener pastures on this side. I've chosen to thrive in spite of it all. The second poem is called Hands. Between these hands, I've held our last hug, our first high five, the meals crafted with love, a reluctant goodbye. Sometimes I find parts of you left behind, a reminder tucked under my nails that you indeed were the most beautiful and best part of me. Peace, y'all. I knew that person looked a little familiar. So I want to thank you all so much for joining us today for the launch of the Survivor Speaks Photo Journal Project. This has been some amazing time together, and we would be remiss if we didn't say thank you to first and foremost Sadiq Khalil for all your hard work over the last 3 years getting these pictures done, edited. You captured so many beautiful moments, and thank you for inspiring us all, challenging us to grow, and showing us a perspective that we all have seen, but we needed a closer eye on. We want to thank Art for Justice. And we also want to thank all the survivors who were photographed, all of the attendees. We want to thank the entire team, from Christina to Brittany to Ida to Mazerat to Julie to, who am I forgetting? There's somebody whose name I'm forgetting, and I really apologize. It was in my head and it just left. But know that in this space belongs your name. And thank you just to every single person. I'm going to kick it over to Ask Why Thomas, who is going to close us out. It's been fun, y'all.
Hey, what's up, everyone? Thanks, Iris. So super excited to be kicking off Survivor Speak 2021. I'm Aswad Thomas, the National Director of Crime Survivors for Safety and Justice. So don't leave yet. Stay with me for another minute. I got something too exciting to share with you all. As you all know, Survivor Speak is kicking off officially this Sunday with our National Healing Vigil Day of Actions that will also include a week-long of activities throughout the week leading up to our Survivor Speak conference, where we have currently 1,200, let me say that again, 1,200 crime survivors that are registered for Survivor Speak 2021 this year. So I'm excited to formally, kind of show you all what to expect for Survivor Speak this year, but most importantly, how you all can get engaged, how you all can get activated for the event this year. So Survivor Speak is going virtual this year. We're hosting our event not on Zoom, but in a official Survivor Speak conference website that we will be launching to everyone tomorrow. So here is our Survivor Speak website for the events next week. Here is our page with several buttons. So if you are interested in learning what's happening or schedule up and updates, you will go to the schedule updates page, where you will click here to learn more about all the activities that are happening throughout the week. The second button will be our live event. So on April 24th, this is where you will go to watch the event. It's not on Zoom, so you don't have to enter a meeting ID. You don't have to enter a passcode. You will simply just hover over to here, put in your name and email address, and you will be able to attend the event. We also have healing vigils happening across the country on the 18th. So to learn more about our healing vigils and to register, you go to this page. We're also releasing our National Crime Victims Policy Agenda. And so you will be able to learn about our policies across the country, which is to expand victims' rights, to end discrimination, and to provide urgent help with less red tape. We also got a lot of wellness activities from yoga to meditation happening on Wednesday of next week. So you'll be able to get involved in Wellness Wednesday activities, including a Facebook live conversation with our healing providers. You also can join some fun and games with our Survivor Meet and Greet. So a beauty about Survivor Speak each year is getting to meet survivors from your city or from your state or from across the country. So on Thursday, April 22nd is our Survivor Meet and Greet to join speed dating with survivors, also take part in a lot of fun and activities. And this is more a history about Survivor Speak. Our virtual gallery will be here on this page. You also can access some of our resources. And what we're excited about is our Survivor Speak social media wall as well. And sorry, I just found out I'm not sharing my screen. So I went through all of that without sharing my screen. That is hilarious. Can you all see my screen now? No worries at all. If you can't see my screen, join me tomorrow at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, where we're going to preview the website. And also, if you registered already, check your email tomorrow afternoon, and also check your phone. We also will be sending out the link to this website that I was just talking about, but I wasn't sharing with you all to create a little bit of suspense. So join me tomorrow on Facebook Live at 5 o'clock. Also, we will be emailing the official conference website and also sending out a text message to everyone tomorrow afternoon. Once again, thank you all so much for joining us tonight. Thank you to all of our survivors across the country. Thank you to Sari for your awesome work and your partnership over the years. Let's get ready for Survivor Speak 2021. See you all next week.
Thank you all so much for joining us for the Survivor Speaks Photo Journal Virtual Gallery. Please go to our website to visit it. You can go right to cssj.org /photo-journal. That's css.org/photo-journal. It's right there down at the bottom of the screen. So go take a look at this wonderful art. Read the stories, listen to the stories, see what else we have going on, tweet about it, tell a friend. It makes a great family night, a great date night. So let's have a really great time. Thank you all again so much. Until next time, we'll see you next week for Crime Victims' Right Week and the celebration of Survivor Speaks. Till next time, peace, y'all. We're out.